In today's video, we're going to unleash the power of your HSA with 4 incredible strategies for maximum growth. Let's jump in. If you don't have an HSA, let me explain why it could be the absolute best account you'll ever own, giving you access to tax saving strategies that you may never have thought about. If you already have a health savings account, I'm going to share 4 tips to help supercharge it, possibly making it your go-to account. An HSA is a special savings account for healthcare costs, but to have one, you need to be covered by a qualified high-deductible health plan, health insurance for short. Now, if you are part of a company plan and you're not sure about your coverage, it's best just to check with your HR team. While it's okay to use your HSA like a regular savings account, it's possible you can miss out on its incredible triple tax benefits if you let the money just sit there. Let me explain in simpler terms. An HSA is one of the few accounts that offers 3 tax advantages. And here's what I mean by that. First, any money that you add to an HSA isn't taxed. So if you earn $100,000, but you put $5,000 into your HSA, you're only going to declare $95,000 on your taxes. This reduces your taxable income, which is the first big advantage of an HSA. Second, when you take money out of your HSA for medical needs, it's not taxed either. So again, you reduce your taxable income on the way into the plan, and you don't pay taxes when you take the money out, as long as it's for medical expenses. But here's the third big advantage, and this one is super powerful. The third big advantage is that any growth on your HSA money isn't taxed either. Let me try to break it down for you further. Think about treating your HSA like the rest of your investment accounts. If you think of your health savings account more like an investment account than just savings, you can invest your HSA dollars and let them grow over time without being taxed. If you withdraw these funds for medical expenses, you're not going to be taxed on the growth. So let's recap the triple tax advantage: tax-free contributions, tax-free growth on investments, and finally, tax-free withdrawals for medical expenses. Now, if you've already got an HSA, get ready for these 4 game-changing strategies that will hopefully maximize its benefits and leverage those potentially huge tax advantages. First up, as mentioned earlier, let's dive right into it. Invest your HSA funds. Most people are unaware that they can invest these dollars, while others know, but they fail to take action. Sure, you could let your HSA funds sit idle, but your money should be working for you. Most HSA administrators, the company holding your dollars, offer minimal interest rates, often less than 1%. However, this will not keep up with inflation, meaning that those stagnant dollars lose purchasing power over time. Your HSA provider will likely offer investment opportunities tailored to your risk tolerance and investment horizon. This could allow you to grow your HSA funds gradually over time. So how big of a difference could that make to you? Well, consider this scenario. On one hand, we have Matt, the saver. He consistently maxes out his family's HSA contributions annually, starting in 2024 and continuing for 30 years. He leaves his HSA funds untouched in a savings account. Assuming Matt and his family will have no health expenses for 30 years, his HSA balance will reach approximately $370,000. This is a decent amount of money saved by any stretch. Now, in another case, we meet Savvy the investor. Having watched this amazing video by Joe Macek, Savvy decides to invest his HSA contributions over the same 30-year period. Instead of just leaving his funds to stagnate in a low-interest savings account, Savvy the investor opts to invest them, aiming for an average growth rate of 7% over 30 years. After this period, Savvy the investor's HSA is now a whopping $900,000, $530,000 more than Matt the saver. We should also note that once you reach 55, you're eligible for catch-up contributions, allowing an extra $1,000 per year on top of the annual maximum. However, the growth numbers that I just talked about don't even include the additional growth from these catch-up contributions. Now, admittedly, our example has its flaws. Assuming a family won't won't have any medical expenses over 3 decades is quite unrealistic. However, here's where HSA strategy number 2 comes into play. Refrain from using your HSA funds for medical expenses. Now, I know it sounds silly, but let me elaborate. Let's revisit both Matt and Savvy's scenarios and introduce $2,000 per year for medical expenses for their families. After 30 years, Matt the saver's HSA is $60,000 lighter, dwindling to now $310,000. Now let's be clear, this is still a great number, but here's the kicker. Savvy the investor faced the same scenario, and yet he handles it differently. When faced with a qualified expense like $2,000 for his daughter's braces, instead of dipping into his HSA, he pays out of pocket and leaves his HSA funds to grow. Now let's focus on that $2,000, assuming it was invested in 2024 with a 7% average rate of return over 30 years. It now grows to over $15,000. By consistently maxing out his HSA contributions and not using the funds for expenses, Savvy the investor still ends up with $900,000 in his HSA. However, you need to keep watching because strategy number 3 is really where it's at. Now, before diving into it, I need to emphasize something pretty critical. If you're unable to cover medical expenses out of your own pocket and must use your health savings account, go ahead. There's a distinction between theoretical scenarios and real life situations. Tough times can come up and we may face job losses or other challenges where coming up with extra funds just isn't feasible. However, 3 to 6 months of emergency savings is generally recommended for people so that if they do run into tough times, they can weather the storm. You can establish your own safety nets based on what makes sense for you, but the more you invest, the greater potential for your money to work for you in the long run. Now let's talk about strategy number 3. You can reimburse yourself for past medical expenses using your HSA. I'm not talking about recent bills. I mean any medical expenses that occurred while you've had your HSA. Building on strategy number 2, Savvy the investor paid $2,000 annually out of pocket, totaling $60,000 over 30 years, allowing his HSA to grow to $900,000. Now imagine Savvy the investor at 65 with his sizable HSA balance reimburses himself for the total $60,000 worth of past medical expenses over the last 30 years, completely tax-free. Even after these reimbursements, he still would have $840,000 left in his HSA compared to Matt the saver's $310,000. That is a staggering difference of over $500,000. Of course, you'll need to keep proper documentation of these payments over time with receipts, but this can significantly impact your wealth in the future. Now, I've mentioned qualified medical expenses, and it's really critical to define this for strategy number 4. While the list of qualified medical expenses is extensive, it's not unlimited. Here are a few interesting examples that I came across. If prescribed by a doctor to alleviate a specific medical condition, such as back pain, the cost of a specialized mattress may be eligible. A swimming pool with a letter of medical necessity will also count. It's also essential to be aware of what qualifies because using your HSA for non-qualified medical expenses, such as a swimming pool that isn't medically necessary, results in double penalties. First, any HSA funds used for non-qualified expenses become taxable income. Second, the government imposes a 20% penalty for misusing your HSA. For example, if you withdraw $1,000 from your HSA for a non-qualified expense and you're in the 22% tax bracket, you'll owe $220 in taxes plus an additional $200 as the 20% penalty. So now 42% of that withdrawal is eaten up by taxes and penalties. This is really not ideal, so never use your HSA funds for non-qualified expenses, unless of course you employ strategy number 4. Once you hit 65 years old, you can withdraw the funds for anything you need without facing the required minimum distributions like with a traditional IRA. While using those HSA funds for non-qualified medical expenses will be added to your taxable income in retirement, you will not face additional penalties. Plus, in retirement, there's more flexibility to manage your marginal and effective tax rates if you've planned wisely. This means that Savvy the investor potentially has over $500,000 $100,000 more at 65 to use as he pleases with decent control over his taxes. However, let's not forget about Medicare eligibility at age 65. Unfortunately, HSAs and Medicare don't really go well together. Once you enroll in any part of Medicare, yes, even just Part A, neither you nor your employer can contribute to your HSA anymore. People who believe that they can maintain their HSA and continue receiving contributions from their employer after enrolling in Medicare Part A alone are mistaken. Once you enroll in any part of Medicare, contributions to your HSA must stop. The funds, though, in your HSA do remain yours and you can still utilize them. However, you cannot add any more money to the account. This may seem straightforward, but it's a common source of confusion, particularly because Medicare timelines can be a bit convoluted. For the typical Medicare beneficiary who qualifies at 65 without an illness or a disability, the start date for Medicare Part A is either the first day of their 65th birthday month or 6 months prior, whichever is closer. Let's clarify this with 3 quick examples. If you enroll in Medicare at age 65, your Medicare start date, also known as your effective date, is the first day of your 65th birthday month. There is an exception here. If your birthday is on the first of the month, your Medicare start date would be the first day of the previous month. However, for the purposes of this video, we're going to assume that your birthday isn't on the first of the month. With Medicare beginning on the first day of the month you turn 65, your last HSA contribution can occur in the month preceding your 65th birthday month. There's no need to halt contributions 6 months prior to turning 65. You can continue making contributions right up until the month before your 65th birthday month. Now, if you apply for Medicare at 65 years old and 3 months, your Part A start date will be 6 months prior to your 65th birthday month, or the closest month, whichever is closer. Since your 65th birthday month is closer, your Part A begins on the first day of your birthday month, allowing your last HSA contribution to happen in the month before your 65th birthday month. Now, if you apply for Medicare at 65 and 8 months, or any time beyond 6 months, your Part A start date will be 6 months prior to your application for Medicare. This is because 6 months back is closer than your 65th birthday month. Consequently, your final HSA contribution would have had to have been made 7 months before applying for Medicare. Now, it's really important to note that it's when you applied for Medicare, not when you requested it to start. Suppose you apply for Medicare in August, but you want it to start in October. In this particular case, Part A begins 6 months back from your application date in August, not 6 months prior to your desired start date in October. This detail is really critical to understand. Now, some individuals try to beat this rule by making the full year's HSA contributions just before they're required to stop. However, you can't front load your HSA contributions. You're only allowed to contribute a prorated amount for the months that you're still eligible for. For example, if March is the last month you're eligible for contributions and it's the 3rd month of the year, you can contribute 3/12 or 25% of the annual maximum HSA contribution amount. If you're over age 55, you're also eligible for catch-up contributions. Now, a lot of people, especially those going on Medicare after age 65, say at age 67, due to the fact that they're still working, either they aren't aware of these rules, or they have forgotten them, or they aren't planning their retirement with this 6-month timeline in mind. So if they don't stop their contributions in time, they might find themselves completely caught off guard by the 6-month look-back rule when it's time to apply for Medicare. Don't let this catch you by surprise. However, once you're on Medicare, you can use your HSA funds for nearly everything related to those Medicare plans. This includes reimbursing yourself for Part B premiums, covering deductibles, copays, coinsurance, drug plan premiums, dental, vision, and much more. However, there is one caveat. You cannot use your HSA funds to pay for Medicare supplement plan premiums, which is unfortunate, but it's a reality. Now that you're well versed in HSAs, hopefully you can utilize the tips that we've covered in this video to unlock the full potential of your account for your financial future. Here's the bottom line. Your health savings account holds incredible potential to revolutionize your financial and your investment health, offering unparalleled tax advantages and investment opportunities. By harnessing the power of your HSA with the 4 strategies outlined in this video, not only can you maximize growth, but you can also help secure your financial future with some astute astute financial planning. From investing your HSA funds for long-term growth to strategically managing reimbursements for past medical expenses, each strategy is designed to leverage the potential triple tax advantages of your HSA account to its fullest extent. Moreover, understanding the intricacies of Medicare eligibility and HSA contributions is critical to avoiding potential pitfalls and optimizing your benefits in retirement. Armed with this knowledge, you can navigate the complexities of healthcare savings with confidence, unlocking the full potential of your HSA for both present and future financial well-being. Embrace these strategies and watch as your HSA becomes the cornerstone of your financial success. Did you know that navigating the uncertainties of the markets and your finances is generally smoother and less stressful with the support of a portfolio manager? Studies have consistently shown that individuals who work with portfolio managers tend to accumulate up to 3 times higher net worth on average and exhibit higher levels of happiness and lower anxiety than going it alone. Do you want to know more about the amazing benefits of Roth IRAs and other great financial concepts? Well, click here to learn more amazing strategies. We'll see you soon.